Ryan, it's awesome to be here with you today.
Thank you, Jenna.
Tell us when you came to the Vineyard.
I came to the Vineyard since it started in 2000. I had just moved here, so.
How did you find us? What did you?
Well, I was going to Florida Hospital College of Health Sciences, is now known as the ADU, and then we had a Vespers night, and Richard Guerrero was the speaker. I had just moved from California, and he talked about how he's from California, how he was an ex-gangster, and honestly, I just felt he was very sincere in his message, and I didn't really have a church at the time, and I wanted to check it out. Special memories are the first day, like the week after, I guess the Vineyard was going to open, but they went to the college, and I told Richard, I was like, I really want to help out somehow. Just throw me in or do something. And I guess he was busy or whatever, cleaning. It was at OJA, and he handed me a plunger. He's like, okay, go work on these toilets. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he brought me to the girls and the boys' toilets, and we just every week after that we were cleaning the toilets to prepare for the Sabbath.
So I had been coming to the Vineyard off and on for a few years, and there was one Sabbath that I came because Robert invited a few people to do praise team, and I volunteered to help out. I sat down in the first row and just so happened to sit down next to Ryan. And yeah, that's how we met. That was our first interaction, and he thinks I did it on purpose, but I didn't.
It was in 2008. Andrew brought me to the Vineyard, Pastor Andrew Moreno, and that's when my first encounter with the Vineyard was. Spiritually, it's helped me grow. Before I got here, I was lost, confused, but the Vineyard has guided me to answer the questions that I had. They've provided me to go on mission trips, and in these mission trips, I've learned many things: teamwork, the importance of prayer, the importance of communication. Things that I lacked growing up. And the Vineyard, by them providing me to go on these trips, they've given me those tools that I don't see where else I would have gotten them.
I started coming around when I was 22 years old, and it was just a different place to go to. I never really found a church growing up where I felt like I was part of, and then I started coming to the Vineyard, and I started feeling like I was welcomed. I met friends and started enjoying it.
I think God in his providence had the Vineyard waiting for me because I had left the church. And even though I was at Andrews, I was there physically, but not spiritually. Well, after a few weeks or so, I think we had mutual friends, and we were introduced to each other. And we've known each other since 2001, 2002, and we've been married for a while now, have 2 kids. And so, like I said before, not only was it a spiritual connection that we got from the Vineyard. Obviously, we met each other.
How I was connected with the Vineyard is through Richard. Richard had asked me to help out in speaking with the Vineyard, and even though I've heard, being in Florida, not so much in Central Florida, being other parts in the state of Florida, hearing a lot of good things about the Vineyard. It really impacting and changing young people's lives and their mission, their scope of everything. So my connection was mainly that Richard calling me and say, hey, can you come and speak? And so that's how it started. There was like 2 or 3 different times I came and spoke. At that time, I was a youth director for the conference, and I loved it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Just the friendliness, the leadership, just the mission of wanting to connect with young people, reconnect them, and just show them a safe place of worship, of family. And then I left the state and then came back, and I happened to be back at that time in Central Florida. And then the very, very first place I went to church was the Vineyard. And so anyhow, I from that point on, it kind of evolved. Rich asked me to help out and be part of the leadership team of the Vineyard at that time. So And the neat thing is, right along with that, Tiffany and I, we were getting to know each other, and then we got engaged. So, the vineyard was part of all of that with us, along with that in regards to the vineyard. So yeah, that's how I came along with the vineyard. So it's been an incredible experience for us.
So it was about 2 years ago, and after we came in the first time, we just fell in love with the environment and everyone praising. So we decided to make this our home.
Church is a family, a big family. So because of that connection and that intimacy between everybody, you could really feel it. And then to see how God was lifted up and the message that was being preached, it caught us the first time.
I can go ahead and enjoy the sermon while I know that my daughter is receiving the Bible lessons or she's being involved too at church. So that's definitely something that I enjoy about coming here to the Vineyard.
Well, I came to Florida back in 2001 to do my training. And to be honest with you, I was kind of burnt out with church. Back home, I did a lot of the same things, like led out in praise, was an elder, and did a ton of stuff. And I was just really burnt out, and I wanted to focus on my career. But at the same time, I still had this longing to find a church home. And like many people come to Vineyard, I church hopped until finally someone by the name of Ryan Makalua, who we were playing basketball one time, and said, "Hey, you should come to the Vineyard." And so I tried it out, and as they say, the rest is history.
My father's actually a pastor, and so obviously I was going to his church, and I started dating Jason, and we kind of would go to both churches for a while, and then Jason just started bringing me to the Vineyard more often, and we both really liked it. We liked the atmosphere and the people and the relationships that we started making, so we just kept coming back.
Well, one thing that I can say I know I really learned a lot from the Vineyard. As I mentioned earlier, at my other church, I was just burnt out with doing the church thing. And then it kind of hit me as we were attending Vineyard. I knew that my wife could sing, and then I had some other talents that I wasn't sharing. And the parable of that, the man with the one talent who hid it in the ground, it just kind of hit me because he didn't use it or invest it. God ended up taking it away. And so Vineyard was like that vehicle where I could grow and expand and share and minister and testify and be ministered to. So Vineyard has been very instrumental for me individually, and as my wife said, has been instrumental for us as a couple, because we've made lifelong friends here. Pastor Richard married us. Our daughter was dedicated here. So it really is our family away from family.
Well, number one, thank you. One day I kind of stopped going to church and kind of rebelled like some people do. And, you always get that itch in you once you get to know God and meet him and really recognize who he is. And one day Lisa ran into someone and they said, yeah, go there on, to the Vineyard. And we went.
We're always with the kids, or we'll do like a bowling or movie night. And it's always good just to interact with everybody and keep, in touch and not just inside of church, but outside. And it's good to fellowship with everybody. Well, I'll help out my mom with Sabbath school for the kids, and it's good. And every Sabbath I come, I'm always meeting new people and building new relationships. So that's good.
And we quit going to church for a while, like he had said. And in 2011, we were looking to get back in church, and we had got back in touch with a friend who said we should visit the Vineyard, and we just thought that sounds so familiar. Got there, recognized Pastor Richard and a lot of people, and of course it was familiar. We had visited there years before, so at the time it might not have been where we needed to be, but God always brought us back to where we're supposed to be, and now we are not leaving. Now God has blessed us with 3 more babies.
All right, so we're here with Max and Jamil Luna, and they started the Vineyard along with me back in 1999. Even though we started actually in 2000. However, Jamil, Max, do you guys remember those days and when we just used to meet and talk and dream? What was that like? What do you think we were getting into?
I remember us getting together at the Panera Bread in Altamont Springs. A lot of things happened there. And we had the opportunity to really think about what would a ministry look like that could bring young people to God in a non-conventional, non-traditional way. That long ago, quite honestly, I never thought it would last this long. So God has truly blessed in miraculous ways.
And you know, our slogan was "Come as you are."
Correct.
It's been used by thousands of different folks, but I kind of think like, you know, we were like not the first, but one of the first, but we genuinely meant that for people to come. What do you think a slogan like that did for folks, Jamil?
I think it really gave them the opportunity to not only come as you are physically, so the dress, it was a big thing of how you come dressed to church and what's proper and what's not in the pulpit, and how do you serve God on a Sabbath and what you need to look like. But I think also spiritually, that you could come as you are, no matter what kind of a mess of a life you were living, but that God accepted us all right where we were. We didn't have to convert and then come to church. We could come as we were with all the burdens and all of the sins that we felt we carried, and we could be accepted and really fulfilled spiritually.
Now, guys, when we started this, you know, we met prior to actually starting in September of 2000. We met for almost 10 months, once a week. We dialogued, we talked, we prayed, and we allowed the Spirit to lead. We were just a group of volunteers, and even to this day, we're still volunteers. How do you think that has benefited the Vineyard, Max, as opposed to having an actual paid pastor to run the Vineyard?
I mean, to me, it means more to be able to be part of something where you can see the results, not in a monetary form, but in a real life. You see the rewards of people being brought to Jesus right in front of you, where, you know, I've never been a paid pastor or anything, but you can see that happening on a weekly basis here at the Vineyard.
I think being a volunteer also enables us not to have so many restrictions on how much time we can give and how much we can. So we know we're really giving from the heart. I think that when people talk about the environment of the Vineyard, I think that's what they're feeling. It's not that we have to have so many lives baptized by a certain date or so much money coming in. I think just it's the fact that we're just giving what we have and what's in our heart.
All right, guys. Last question. Once I said this before, we have been doing ministry for years together. Jamil and I started together when we were at Forest City doing a early teen class. Maxie joined in later on, and we were like directors. Then we move on to this Vineyard. It's helped a lot of people spiritually, but overall, how has it helped you in your relationship, your marriage with your kids? How has Vineyard benefited you guys?
For me personally, and I think for you, Mil, the fact that our kids were born into the Vineyard, and to see them now today being part of the praise team, my daughter playing guitar and Max is singing, to me that's one of the biggest blessings of being part of a ministry like this, where you can see the fruits in real time.
I absolutely agree. For me, that's a tremendous blessing to sit back as a mother and see your children involved in church. But the other piece for our family has been the support we've received for, while I've been sick. And the fact that, you know, you get cancer once and you don't know what to expect, but the church is there for you. And going through everything that I've been through, to have that love and the support. And even when I can't come to church, that people would send text messages or emails, but it's just not that. It's the true love that I felt as I came to church. When the Bible says when you're broken at your deepest point in your life, that you can come as you are, literally with no hair, nothing but my spirit, and to be filled that way, and then to get cancer again and still be loved and accepted. And there were many days I wasn't sure if I'd even make it through, but I always knew that I had that spiritual support, and it has meant the world to my family and I, and it's my absolute honor to be a part of such an amazing church family.
I remember somebody just got up and said, I need to share something. And ever since then, we decided, hey, this is an important part of our worship service, to allow people to share their feelings, to have a prayer request or give a little testimony. I believe that's really helped out a lot of people grow and to stay open about things. You know, it creates more of a bond, and I'm grateful that we kind of fell into it. It wasn't nothing planned, and I think that's part of what you're referring to, is that making people aware of the situation, what was going on, so they could pray. And Vineyard has always had that. I guess one of their main topics of believing in prayer and bringing family together through prayer. None of us are perfect, but God listens to those prayers and He answers them according to His will. And we've seen a lot of great things happen, but I'm grateful that both of you guys have always been part of it, even from the beginning. And we'll see where it takes us, you know, from this day forward. But thank you both for sharing this. It means a lot.